The film kicks off with a huge soccer match during the 1958 FIFA World Cup. Brazil goes head-to-head with the USSR, and there's a massive crowd pumped up for the game. However, the commentators aren't holding back. They're criticizing Brazil's playing style. Meanwhile, we sneak a peek into Brazil's locker room where we meet Pelé, the youngest player ever in the World Cup. Then, the scene shifts back 8 years earlier, showing a group of kids shining shoes and itching to play soccer. Because they're living in tough conditions, they don't have a real ball to play with. So, they gather some clothes from their neighborhood and stuff them into socks to make a makeshift ball. Soon, they start playing with their homemade ball, kicking it from rooftop to rooftop, making sure it never touches the ground. Even though the ball is heavy, the kids handle it with skill and grace. But the game ends in a muddy puddle. Later, one of the boys, Deco, lies to his mom, saying he fell into a river while taking his younger brother, Zoka, home. But Zoka accidentally spills the beans, saying, "But you were playing soccer." Mom isn't pleased about them playing soccer, so she bans them from listening to the World Cup. In the next scene, Deco's dad and some other men are at a bar, listening to the game on the radio. It's the final match of the 1950 FIFA World Cup between Brazil and Uruguay, and everyone's rooting hard for Brazil to win. The kids are also seen on the dilapidated roof of the bar, trying to catch updates on the game. But things take a somber turn when Brazil loses, and Deco's dad breaks down in tears. As he exits the bar, he bumps into Deco, who sees his dad upset and vows to win the World Cup someday to make him proud. The next day, Deco's mom takes him to her workplace, a fancy mansion, to help clean. She shares how his dad's football dreams got crushed after he got hurt. They left him with nothing after his knee injury, no insurance, and no prospects. She's scared Deco might end up hurt like his dad, so she doesn't want him playing football. Just then, some rich boys show up and start chatting about a big football tournament. They're all hyped because a famous football manager, Waldemar Dito, will be scouting players for Santos, a big club. These rich kids are already picturing themselves as football stars. Deco tries to join in and mentions a local player, Bailey, but accidentally says Pelé instead. The others tease him about it, calling him Pelé. Then, the team captain, Jose, kicks a ball, knocking over Deco's bucket. Just then, Deco's mom returns and apologizes for her son's supposed misbehavior. Before leaving, Deco grabs a newspaper mentioning the football tournament. Deco rounds up his pals to join the tournament, even though he promised to shine shoes that day. They struggle at first with the real ball, much lighter than their homemade one. But they adapt, even fashioning uniforms from bed sheets. Despite their shabby appearance and lack of proper gear, Deco and his crew impress with their skills, outshining nearly every other team. They make it to the finals, facing the same rich kids who mocked Deco at his mom's workplace. These older boys are better prepared than Deco's team, and they tease them by calling them the shoeless ones, because they're playing without proper football boots. This insult makes Deco's team realize they need to get boots for the next game. To get money for the boots, they plan to steal peanuts to sell. But they almost get caught by a mover who sees them and starts chasing them. Despite the close call, Deco and his friends manage to get away. They roast the peanuts and go to the market to attract customers, offering free shoe shines for buying 2 packs of peanuts. While they're selling peanuts, the other boys who insulted them before show up again. They make fun of Deco's team, teasing them about everything. Deco gets angry and ends up fighting with the leader of the other group. Deco's father sees the fight but doesn't do anything. When they get home, Deco's mother asks about his bruises, and he lies, saying his teacher hit him. His mother gets mad and decides to talk to the teacher the next day. The next day, Deco's father walks him to the tournament and asks him why he fought. When he learns about the insults, he tells Deco that if he wants to play professionally, he can't be ashamed of who he is. Deco feels better knowing his father supports him. On the big day, Deco notices his friends trying to hide things they're insecure about. But with his father's encouragement, Deco's ready to play. Despite everyone cheering for the rich boys, Deco's team, called the Shoeless Ones, led by Captain B, is determined to prove themselves. The host introduces their special guest, Waldemar Dito, who's from the Santos Football Club. Deco and his team struggle because of their two big boots, making them slower and giving the other team an advantage. The opposing team takes full advantage, scoring goal after goal, leading 6-0. Deco and his teammates feel helpless and angry at the unfair play. In a fit of rage, Deco wants to retaliate when the opponents call him Pelé, but he stops when he sees his father in the crowd. He remembers his dad's advice about being proud of who he is. Deco decides to ditch the uncomfortable boots and play like they do on their streets. With the ball, he closes his eyes, recalling playing in his neighborhood, skillfully dodging opponents. His unexpected moves surprise everyone, and he scores the first goal. His bravery inspires his teammates, showing them they have nothing to be ashamed of. They all follow suit, taking off their oversized boots and playing freely. The game suddenly shifts, and Deco's team starts dominating, leaving the opponents helpless. Each teammate dribbles past their opponents, scoring goals, bringing the score to 6-5. Sadly, Deco's team loses when the game ends. Still, the crowd admires their performance, chanting, "Pelé." Despite the loss, Jose envies Deco. A photographer snaps a picture of the barefoot team. Waldemar gives his business card to Deco's dad. They encounter the men they stole peanuts from and run into the forest. One friend falls, and Deco rushes to help, leading him to a hiding spot in a small hole. While waiting, his friend encourages him, saying he can escape the slums with his skills. Suddenly, it rains, causing a landslide. Deco escapes, but his friend is trapped. Deco cries for help, but tragically, they can't save him. Heartbroken, Deco returns home, blaming himself for his friend's death. He tells his mom everything and promises never to play football again. The guy hands his wife Waldemar's business card. She tucks it away in the drawer. To teach their son a lesson for skipping school, she asks her husband to take Deco to work with him the next day. The next day, Deco's dad brings him along to his job. They tackle the messiest tasks at a hospital, like scrubbing toilets and emptying bedpans. Deco feels really down. Trying to lift his spirits, his dad shares some stories while playing with mangoes. He tells Deco how he practiced using green mangoes for target practice and ripe ones for accuracy when he was young. Deco doesn't respond, staying true to his promise to his mom. He refuses to join his friends in a game of football, even tossing out the newspaper with their picture. His mom notices the emptiness in Deco's eyes. One day, his dad pretends to miss a shot while aiming for a bin. Deco can't resist and nails a shot right into the bin. His dad confesses he was faking clumsiness by shooting into the farthest bin. Inspired, Deco starts practicing with his dad. His dad begins teaching him his tricks. Fast forward a few years, Deco is now 15. He's become skilled with mangoes. His mom watches him practice with his dad but decides not to interfere. After mulling it over, she calls a football scout. She brings the scout to watch Deco practice from afar. When Deco gets home, he's surprised to find Waldemar waiting for him. Waldemar suggests Deco try out for the local football club. Deco says goodbye to his family and heads to Santos. In the next scene, Deco is at a tryout for Santos pro football team. The coach urges the players to forget their old-fashioned playing styles and adopt techniques from top European teams. He scolds Deco for sticking to his usual style. After the tryout, the players gather to see who made the team. Deco is disappointed not to find his name on the junior team list and considers leaving. But then, an assistant posts the youth team list, and Deco sees his name. His training journey begins. Deco learns new football techniques, like the side flip kick. After training each day, the coach shows them matches, stressing how Brazil lost due to outdated playing styles. In the evening, Waldemar watches Deco struggle to learn a new move, but he just can't get it right. Next, Deco tries to score a penalty during practice, but he misses, and his teammates grumble about his poor track record with goals. Later that night, Deco can't help but cry. Waldemar sees him leaving camp with his suitcase and finds him at the train station. "Why are you leaving so suddenly, Mr. Deco? What's going on?" Waldemar asks. "I could ask you the same thing," Deco replies. He feels like he doesn't fit in with the academy's style of play, and the coach doesn't like him. "If I don't go back to school now, I'll end up scrubbing toilets." "What's wrong with that? Cleaning toilets?" Waldemar questions. "It's not about cleaning toilets, it's about not playing like everyone else," Deco responds. He explains the roots of his style. Back in the 16th century, the Portuguese came to Brazil with African slaves. Many slaves escaped to the jungle, where they created ginga, the basis of capoeira. When slavery ended, capoeira was banned, so the practitioners turned to football to keep ginga alive without getting arrested. Over time, it became part of Brazil's culture. But in the 1950 World Cup, some blamed Brazil's loss on the ginga style. Waldemar tells Deco that ginga is a part of him, and he can either embrace it and show the world who he is or walk away and never know. Waldemar leaves. Deco's train arrives. But he decides to stay. The next day, during a match, Deco struggles and disappoints himself and his coach with his performance. Feeling desperate, he remembers training with his father using mangoes and sees Waldemar cheering him on. Inspired, he decides to play his own way, effortlessly dribbling past opponents. He ignores the coach's instructions. Eventually, he kicks the ball into the air, just like he practiced with the mangoes, and scores an incredible goal. His teammates and opponents congratulate him, but the coach is baffled and demands an explanation. "I'm sorry," Deco replies. Deco continues to shine, scoring 4 goals in the match and catching the eye of the newspapers. Despite being the youngest on the team, he starts making a name for himself. Meanwhile, his father listens to every game, bursting with pride at his son's success. One night, Waldemar sees Deco practicing shots with his old technique. He's surprised to see Deco failing to score, but then he realizes that Deco is deliberately aiming for the crossbar with every shot. Soon after, new lists of players are posted, and Deco can't find his name on the junior team list. It turns out he's been promoted to the pro team. Now, Deco plays matches with teams from all over the country. Lots of folks flock to watch the 15-year-old whiz with his special moves. One day, a surprise package arrives at his house, but his mom didn't order anything. Turns out, Deco decided to drop by, bringing gifts like a stove. "You know there's no gas, right? We'll just use it as a table," his mom quips. He hands his dad a portable radio so he can tune in to his games. Deo's brother suggests listening to the Brazilian team invitations tomorrow, but their mom reminds him about school, and their dad's got work. Deo says there's no point cause he's too young for the national team. Still, they anxiously listen to the announcement. To everyone's surprise, Deo makes the cut. He's floored by the news, can't believe he made it. Before he leaves, his dad tells him that Brazil's hopes live on him since 1950. He hands over his old jersey with Pelé on it. But that's what those snobs used to tease me with, Deo protests. Nah, that's what people called you when they saw your skills, something I never had, his dad shares. When he started as a pro player, he aimed for that beautiful style. He scored 5 goals in one game but doubted himself, leading to injury. It's when he stopped believing that the beautiful game turned ugly. Pelé joins his teammates later. Another player, jokingly imitating the Jenga style, playfully shoves him. Turns out, he's a chill dude. He introduces Pelé to everyone. But for the reporters, the spotlight's on Jose, the rich kid who bullied Pelé back in the day. My family's Italian, so I play in that style, Jose taunts Pelé again, saying he doesn't have the modern European style. Some reporters laugh at players sticking to their Jenga style. Pelé confronts them, but the national team coach interrupts, promising they won't play Jenga anymore. Later, the coach warns Pelé against Jenga. The next day, Pelé struggles to play the European way as suggested. Jose keeps making fun of Jenga players, saying they're playing poorly. Waldemar steps in, I hope you're not saying what I think you are. Pelé grumbles to Scott Isaac, what if we just got it wrong in 50? Show him you can play like Jose today, and you might have a chance, but if you play Jenga. During the match, Pelé can't play the European way. Eventually, he resorts to Jenga, upsetting the coach and other players. Doubting himself, Pelé makes a wrong move, injuring his knee. The team doctor confirms the injury may rule him out of the World Cup. Pelé calls his mother, regretting his choices. It's my fault. They don't know when I can play again. I should have stayed in school, Pelé laments. His mother encourages him, we made that choice together, and it was right. Your father and I love you no matter what. The doctor can't predict Pelé's recovery time. Still, the coach decides to take him to Sweden. Reporters mock Jenga, noting a Brazilian player injured himself trying to play that way. The World Cup starts, and Sweden ridicules Brazil for their size and style. Jose, despite being talkative, says nothing to defend them. The doctor treats Pelé with Brazilian medicine, promising to take the winning ball home. This time around, Pelé starts to slowly recover. Meanwhile, the Brazilian team wins a couple of initial matches. However, due to the intense nature of the games, several players, including Jose, get hurt. Concerned about Pelé's condition, the coach consults the doctors. The progress is better than I anticipated, but he's still quite fragile. Are you sure about letting him play? The doctor responds. It'll be tough on him, the coach realizes. With no other choice, an injured Pelé is called upon to represent his country. Nervous and unwell, Pelé vomits, and the coach practically drags him onto the field, urging him to gather himself. The doctor warns Pelé against playing Jenga due to the risk it poses to his weak knee. In the next scene, Pelé and his team take the field, with the coach reminding him to stick to the plan and play in the European style. The commentators ridicule Pelé, who looks small compared to his teammates and is clearly the youngest player in the World Cup. The crowd enjoys mocking him. Don't mind them, Waldemar encourages. During the game, Pelé follows the coach's instructions, but the Soviet players aggressively challenge him. Despite this, Brazil wins against the USSR team. In the semi-final against France, Brazil trails 1-0 after the first half. Pelé sees the demoralized and injured players in the dressing room. Feeling down, he talks to José, suggesting he replace him in the second half if his leg improves. However, José refuses, reminding Pelé of the beauty of Ginga they showcased back in Bauru. That's what they need now. In the second half, Pelé returns to the game. When he makes a mistake, he looks at José, who encourages him. Pelé regains his confidence and skillfully maneuvers past the players, scoring a remarkable goal. Despite the coach's instructions, Pelé continues to play his game. The crowd is amazed as Pelé scores 2 more goals, leading Brazil to victory. Meanwhile, his father proudly cheers for him at the bar. With the scores leveled, Pelé's extraordinary performance earns him the title of the 17-year-old phenom. After the game, his father returns home, announcing that Pelé feels better and has scored 3 goals. As the big game with Sweden approaches, the Brazilian coach gathers the team and tells them to switch up their style to play more like the Europeans. He tries showing them some new tactics and suggests they copy the formation of the Swedish team. But even after practicing, the players don't seem to improve. Pelé speaks up, confused. How can I cover the wing and his cog at once? The coach snaps, you just do. They all watch as the Swedish team plays rough against the Germans. The Swedes are known for their dirty tactics. One of the German players gets hurt badly, ending his career, which scares the Brazilians. During a press conference, the Swedish coach mocks Brazil's playing style. He says if Brazil keeps it up, they'll lose like they did in 1950. He even threatens to take down Pelé. He goes on to insult each Brazilian player, listing their weaknesses. Jaime Santos injured his hand working in a factory. And the right winger Ginian has a messed up spine and 1 leg shorter, he says, trying to demoralize the team. Angry, Brazil's coach storms out. Later, Pelé talks to his dad about how bad things are. His dad reminds him of their childhood, when Pelé used to bring everyone together. I heard they're calling you P, his dad says. Pelé scoffs, it's dumb. His dad insists, it's a sign. Time for P to shine. The next day, Pelé starts dribbling a ball in the cafeteria, trying to lift everyone's spirits. But the team is still down. What's going on? Pelé asks, urging them to join. José steps up, you're not alone. And one by one, they join in. They play keepy-uppy, not letting the ball hit the ground. They accidentally make a mess in the kitchen and disrupt a fancy table at the hotel, but they start to feel like a team again. I'm sorry, sir, who looks familiar to me, Pelé says sorry. The coach gets mad seeing his team fooling around. They manage to carry the ball out of the hotel without letting it touch the ground, but Pelé messes up the final kick and falls into the water. The next day, the coach gathers the team and admits he was wrong for teaching them the formations and other European football styles. While they were chasing the ball around the hotel yesterday, he realized that Ginga is their style. It's what makes Brazilian football special. He suggests the team play in the final in their own style and showcase the beauty of Brazilian football to the world. It's the day of the finals, and both teams are ready to play. Because their uniforms are too similar, the Brazilian team wears blue jerseys. The whistle blows, and the Swedish players start pushing Pelé on purpose, trying to hurt him. The Swedish team scores within 4 minutes. All the Brazilian fans are shocked to see the Swedish players swarming around Pelé, preventing him from getting the ball. Pelé's mother can't hold back her emotions and turns on the radio her son gave them. But soon, the Brazilian players gather themselves, and Pelé assists in scoring the first goal. One after another, the Brazilian team scores, and so does Pelé. His mother rushes into the bar and sees her son winning the World Cup. Soon, the final whistle blows, and the game ends with Brazil winning 5-2. It's Brazil's first ever World Cup win. Pelé faints from the overwhelming emotions. All of Pelé's teammates rush onto the field and lift him on their shoulders. Brazil celebrates its victory, and the doctor keeps the ball as he promised. The scene shifts to the real moments after Brazil's victory on June 29, 1958, the day Brazil won its first World Cup ever. It all feels surreal. It had only been 18 months since I left home for the first time, but it felt like years. My parents come out to meet me, and Dad reminds me of the promise I made. In the last scene, we learn how Pelé was declared a national treasure by the Brazilian president in 1961. Pelé holds the world record for most goals and is also the youngest player to score a goal in the World Cup. He is also the only player to win 3 FIFA World Cups. One record Pelé never surpassed was heading 5 goals in one game. This record was held by his father. Turn on alerts, like, and subscribe for more videos similar to this one. Thank you for watching.